I love that. We call that a prayer sandwich when we're doing retreats and conferences. We wrap around the music around. We do that in the Sunday services when we're all together as well with our music team. It just feels so good to be wrapped in music and held by those notes and the spaces in between. So thank you again, Karen, for reminding us to surrender to our highest, our greatest, highest good. I surrender to my highest good, my greatest, highest good. Can we say that? I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way, for every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I'm more loving every moment, every day. Later she says I'm kinder every day and more present. I am more present. I can choose to take a higher path each day. I'm reading these lyrics to you now that you just heard. And I can now know that what I thought was safe and sound was only a habit and regret that held me down. So often we move and live from habit and regret rather than choosing to be open to release the past and live in the new. The lyrics go on to say, I'm more loving every moment, every day, and I'm more present every moment, every day. I will surrender every moment, every day. Monday night class, folks, does that sound familiar? I will surrender every moment, every day. So here we are in the middle of, quite a different time in our history, and we are diving into a book all about deep acceptance and surrendering every moment of every day. It's deep work, and it's powerful work, and it's refreshing work, actually. Choosing to unlearn and to be open and to trust, that's what we're working on. Takes us right back to that other song that Karen just shared. I'm open to possibilities. We have to release anything that's held us back before we can truly open to possibilities. Release an old paradigm to allow a new one to emerge. I'm open to the possibilities of a life that is meant to be lived by me, not necessarily one that you've been living. Sometimes during times of great change, like we're all living through right now, people are I know for a fact people are waking up and going, well, I'm not sure I want to do what I've been doing all this time. I may want a career change or a life change in another way. So being open to possibilities of a life that is meant to be lived by me. Dr. Ernest Holmes said about the science of mind, he said, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to teach you how to think. Teach you how to think. Science of mind gives us a chance to allow ourselves to be better and better and better. I guess I would say the best version of ourselves, right? Because we can be bitter or we can be better. In any circumstance, we can choose that we can get bitter or we can get better. Anything that we are facing, that we are going through. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, people do not seem to realize that their opinion of the world is a confession of their character. Our opinion of the world is a confession of our character. Wow, that's a big one. But think about it, our characters, our mental and moral qualities that we've accepted and embodied. So what our opinion of the world is really our inner world showing up around us, individually and collectively. The teacher of teachers who taught the Fillmores, who founded Unity, and who taught Dr. Ernest Holmes and so many more, Emma Curtis Hopkins, she had this to say. She said it a little differently. She said, all of your affairs, as you now look at them, represent your former way of thinking. They are held together by the glue of your former ideas. Everything in your world is held together by the glue of your former ideas. Now, if you withdraw that glue, what can you expect but that your affairs will fall to pieces to let new affairs representing your new way of thinking establish themselves? So everything in our existence is held together by the glue of our former ideas. We can get bitter or we can get better, right? We can choose what we want to focus on, what we want our relationship to life to be. That's another thing we're looking at on Monday nights in this book by Jeff Foster, The Deepest Acceptance, A Radical Awakening in Ordinary Life. It's all about having an intimate relationship with life. What is your relationship with life? How are you choosing to see it? So a girl comes to her father and she says, everything's just wrong with the world. I'm upset. I'm unhappy. And she's complaining about everything. And she's just telling him all the reasons the world is terrible and all the reasons that she's a victim to it. And she's going on and on about it. And her dad's a chef and they happen to be talking in the kitchen and he's listening and he just goes over to the stove and he puts on 3 pots of water. 3 pots of water, turns the timer on for 20 minutes. And in one pot, he puts potatoes. In another pot, he puts fresh eggs. And in the last pot, he puts coffee grounds. And his daughter continues to complain and complain and complain. And then finally, after 20 minutes, he said, "Look at these pots. What do you see?" She's like, "Potatoes, eggs, coffee, what?" And he said, what's the difference? Or what's remarkable about them? Because they each experienced the same adversity, let's say, of boiling water. And yet they responded differently. The potato went in strong, came out soft and weak. The egg went in fragile, came out hard. Feel familiar in how we look at life and how we approach life sometimes. But then the coffee, the coffee changed its environment. It was not changed by its environment as much as it changed its environment. It changed the water. It created, out of water, it created something new. All three faced the same exact, we'll call it an adversity, and yet the coffee changed its environment, changed and created something new. Simply by refocusing, looking at life a different way, we can change what we're looking at. I'm going to pull up something here that I wanted to read to you by, along those lines, by one of you hear me talk about her all the time. I'll call her my online mentor. That's Reverend Jane Beach. I love her dearly. She's a beautiful painter and Science Mind minister, and she posts a lot on Facebook, and she's very inspiring. I encourage you to follow her. So this week's post for you from Reverend Jane Beach, along that idea of what kind of relationship are we having with life? She says, and this is really what's the foundation of Science Mind teaching, is quantum physics, if you really think about it. She says, quantum physics explains that everything is energy, waves of possibility until observed. Then the waves collapse into particles and form is created. If my focus is on gratitude, I'm collapsing more goodness into form. Let me say that again. If my focus is on gratitude, I am collapsing more good into form. If my focus, or she says, if I fret about what's wrong, I'm collapsing more negativity into form. So if everything's possibility, I'm open to the possibilities. Everything's possibility until it's observed. So how are we seeing it? Are we changing the water or being changed by it? How are we seeing it? Are we being the coffee? How are we seeing it? How are we focusing on it? It's not always easy. I know I have my challenges just like everyone else. This past week when I was feeling down about some things and I was just having a hard time finding my joy, right? I was having a hard time finding that joy in my heart. And I thought, I have to feel my joy. I have to feel my joy. So I was like, what comes to mind when I think of getting that joy feeling? Immediately, I saw my nephews, Neo and Eli, on my birthday, dogpiling me. And I went back and Angie had videoed. I was playing with them and she was standing off to the side videoing. And they were pulling my head. My chiropractor would not be impressed with the moves they had going on with my head. They were pulling my head and pounding on me, jumping on me, choking me. But we were playing, right? And they're giggling now, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And they're giggling and they're so cute. And I'm tossing them up in the air and kissing them. The joy was back like that. Well, maybe not like that. I think I watched it 6 times in a row. But then the joy was back, right? Refocusing. We can get bitter or we can get better. Refocus. Get bitter or get better. Be the coffee. Refocus. But see, we get so attached sometimes to our labels. I talked about this recently. We fight to maintain the stories we've created about who we are in the world, how we want to be seen. We want to be seen as professional, as prepared, as spiritual, successful, peaceful, in charge, responsible, whatever, intelligent. We have these things, these ways, these stories we've created about ourselves that keep us safe, and we want people to see us that way. But as I spoke about last week, who we really are is bigger than that. Or maybe it was the week before, maybe it was in class, it all runs together after a while. But who we really are is bigger than all of that. That's why in the Bible it says, be not attached to the fruits of your labor. Because if you're attached to being seen as those things that I mentioned, the intelligent one, the successful one, the prosperous one, if you're attached to those labels, being seen that way, that story of who you are, if that's what it takes to make you feel good, then the flip side of that is going to feel devastating when, and it happens, when someone sees you in a different way, sees you as the opposite of those good qualities you want to be seen as, right? So be not attached to the fruits of your labor about how people see you out here, but rather feel it and live it from the inside out. From the inside out. There's a book by Daniel Kahneman. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow. And I want to share a little bit from that book because it's so important for us to understand ourselves, right? Know thyself. So it's so important for us to know ourselves. So he says, so much of our thinking is not really thinking, but a series of mental illusions. These mental illusions affect how we make sense of our realities. We end up believing as true anything that helps us make sense of what we already believe. Let me repeat that. We end up believing as true anything that helps us make sense of what we already believe, because we unconsciously select the same patterns over and over again, and we often do anything to avoid uncertainty, anything to avoid confusion. So we just end up believing as true the things that help us make sense of what we already believe, instead of unlearning, letting go of judgments, some stereotypes of old stories of ourselves in the world, and learning something new. Learning something new, not being afraid to learn something new. I'm so excited that we're doing the work that we're doing for social justice here at the Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening. We're partnering with Stan Greenspon Center for Peace and Social Justice with some events coming up so that we can learn, so that we can grow. One is this coming Tuesday night. It's called the Restorative Justice Teach-In. It's this Tuesday night. We are partnering with them. I'll be the co-host for the evening. I hope you'll join us this Tuesday at 7. It's online. And then in August, we're doing the White Fragility book discussion, also with this center, partnering with them so we can get as many people as we can to let go of our old stories, let go of our old ideas of how things were, and learn something new. Learn how to be different so we can create something different, something better. Be bitter or be better. Let's be better. And so back to the book, so Thinking Fast and Slow. He talks about that we have these mental illusions. There's several of them. I'm just going to mention 3 today. There's 3 that I want to mention. One is the halo effect, these ways that we end up believing, keep ourselves believing what we already believe. So one is the halo effect, and that is if you like someone, you'll give them more credibility. They just already, what they're saying is true. And if you don't like someone, then the opposite is true. You ignore and don't trust them. So again, that goes back to let us be willing to unlearn. Let us be willing to learn something new so that we can be in the world in a new and continually evolving way. In a continually evolving way. The emergent evolution of harmony. That's what's taking place. That's what my teacher David Leonard says, that's the evolving way. So, okay, the second mental illusion for us to look out for would be that what you see is all there is. Again, that when you believe that the personality of you is the truth of you instead of the essential self, the essential nature. Again, not being attached to the fruits of our labors or the way that people see us or the way that we show up in the world even. But knowing that the true nature is that we are inseparable from our God, our good, inseparable from the universe that created us, the source that created us. So the third mental illusion to look out for is availability bias. And that's when you naturally gravitate to what you've heard or believed before. So again, encouraging us to unlearn, to relearn, to learn something new, to release, to embrace, to be willing to grow. Challenge what you think. Challenge what you think you know about yourself and about the world. Be willing to learn and grow and change. And we can do this if we don't, more effectively, I think, if we don't get distracted by everything on the sidelines. Everything on the sidelines. And we surround ourselves with people that are devoted to that emergent evolution of harmony. There's a Hopi story that I've heard my teacher David repeat many, many times. And so in this story, there's a boat going down a river, and the river is moving fast, it's moving quickly, and there's a boat, and you're in the boat. And there's people on the side of the river. There's people in the past on the side of the river or in the river. There's people up ahead on the side of the river or in the river. There's people everywhere. They're moving or they're standing still. So often we get distracted by the ones on the side of the river, the ones on the riverbank, or we get distracted by the ones behind us, or we get distracted by all these other things, when really what we have to focus on is who's in your boat. Who's in your boat, not being pulled down by all the differing ideas out there. That's not to say we don't look and learn, we do. But when you are moving from a place of your own centered, connected to source space, you are surrounding yourselves with the people, like the ones in this community, who are dedicated to the emergent evolution of harmony on this planet, then don't get distracted by the others not in your boat. Let it go. Don't be distracted. Trust and focus on the angels that surround us. We have literally, it's like we have angels. Karen has this beautiful song that says we're all angels and we only have one wing. We're looking for each other because we only have one wing, because we need each other to fly. Beautiful song. It makes me think, every time I hear it now, it makes me think of our dear Linda Buckle and her sweet mother, Alice. Linda and Alice were part of my previous church community years ago, Spiritual Living Center of Charlotte, and Karen came to visit and shared a concert with us. And as she often does in her concert, she brings these little halos, and she'll give them out to put on people's heads as she sings the song. It's very cute. And when she was there, she actually gave the halo to Linda for her mom. I don't remember if she gave it to Linda specifically or to her mom, but anyway, Linda's mom ended up wearing the halo. And so here's cute little Alice with this halo on. And that song became so important to them. It was a reminder to Alice and to Linda that they were each other's angel. And Linda spoke so often, and still does, about how her mom was her best friend and her angel here on earth. And so that song, Karen, is so special to all of us, and especially to Linda, because she played that song for her mom as she was moving through the hospice experience, and even at her celebration of life, played that song for her. And so it's such a reminder that we, the ones in our boat, those are our angels. Pay more attention to those people who are surrounding you, lifting you up, being your angel right here, right? Foster those relationships, and don't be distracted by the other, or you'll end up not being the coffee that changes the circumstance. You'll end up not being the version of you that continues to evolve into the better version of you, but you'll be the bitter version of you, and we don't want that, right? We don't want that. We are all each other's angels. We're here to continually support that emergent evolution of harmony. And, paying attention. That's one of the ways we do that, paying attention. What's needed? I love my community of NODA. I love it so much. We're always helping each other, looking out for each other. And just on the edge of NODA is a wonderful restaurant that I think the whole city of Charlotte is in love with, and that is Lang Van Vietnamese Restaurant. I've been going there for 25 years, at least, probably more. I was going there before I even lived in Charlotte, so yes, over 25 years. I've known the now owner since she's been there for the last 20 years. Her name is Young. She's fantastic, and she will literally remember your order if you go in once and go back a year later. She'll say, "Would you like number 17 or whatever?" She's amazing. But so she's not just about a restaurant. They're not just about a restaurant. There's so much love in that place. There's kindness, there's love, there's attentiveness. Your water glass only gets down that far before they're filling it back up. There's joy. They're always saying, "Hello, my friend." Every time you walk in, she's like, "Hello, my friend," to everybody. There's this commitment, this community hub sort of feeling, and they're just there for us. And so what I've had a chance to witness is that there's a lot of angels in this city because we've been there for them. So the word got out that Lang Van was experiencing trouble during the pandemic and having to be closed, and they were afraid they were going to have to close their doors. That word got out, and in 24 hours someone started a GoFundMe for them, and within 24 hours raised $31,000. And then from June 18th to July 6th, $57,687 was raised, right? We're all angels with only one wing, looking for each other to help us fly. That's what I'm talking about, is paying attention of how can I be of service? That's how we got Karen here today, right? She was on the Science of Mind live broadcast a week or so ago, and she said, "I just love doing this. I love sharing and supporting communities with my music. And so if anybody wants me to, just tell me." And I was like, "Hey, girl." We're here to help each other, to continually lift each other up and be dedicated to that emergent evolution of harmony. Dedicated to it. Don't give up. We're made for this. We are made for this. I know that now that we're experiencing a continuation of phase 2, here we are yet again feeling like, whoa, what's happening with this COVID experience and all the other things going on in our world, our civil justice issues. And so don't give up. You're made for this. Be the coffee. Change your surroundings. Don't be changed by them. I love the sign that Angie was holding this past week as we were on Tybee for a race equity resolution, supporting a race equity resolution. She was holding a sign by Angela Davis and said, "I no longer am accepting the things that I cannot change. I'm changing the things I can't accept." Now, I know some of you are going, wait, you started this talk by talking about surrender, and now you're saying don't accept. That's what class is for. We go into this much deeper. I know it sounds paradoxical, but the two work together, because we are here to be the change we want to see and also surrender deeply into the now moment, which is our highest, greatest good. So, now, to remind us that we are all angels, and to help us focus on having that joy in our heart, I welcome back Karen Drucker.